All right, here we are on page 3 of the Unit 1 review, and we're taking a look at number 5, saying write the equation of the line represented by the following graph. Give an example for each of the 3 forms of a linear equation. So what's the slope-intercept form of this graph? Well, I need the slope and I need the intercept. So if I look here, the intercept goes right here through -2. And then I can also tell that it goes up here through 3, 0. So here's one corner, here's another corner. I can count the slope. Up 1, 2, over 1, 2, 3. So positive 2/3 is my slope, and here's my intercept. So I can go ahead and write this now that I know my m and my b. So my m equals 2/3. My y-intercept equals -2. And now I can put these together into the equation. And there's one example of slope-intercept form, the equation of this line. Okay, so next I can use any point to plug into the point-slope form, and I still need the same slope, which is 2/3. So this 2/3 still applies. And I can just go use any other point from the graph. So if I go choose any other point, for example, this 3, 0, and this is considered my x1, y1, when I'm plugging into the formula. So y minus 0 equals 2/3, parentheses x minus 3. Now remember that I don't really need a y minus 0. I could have just typed y. And if I distributed this 2/3 times x, 2/3 times -3, the 3's would cancel out, and I would still get 2/3 x minus 2, just like this equation up here. So my point-slope form can always simplify down to the same as the slope-intercept form. Now standard form. For this one, I want to move things around, so I have a coefficient with x, a coefficient with y equal to c. So here I go. I'm going to start with this point slope-intercept form up here and show you how we can move this around. So first of all, we want this -2 to stay on this side, but we want these x's to move up. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 2/3 x from both sides. And we still have the -2 on the right-hand side. Now I want this to be, if possible, with no fractions. I want just a coefficient of a whole number. So if I multiply everything times 3 times 3 times 3, here comes my next step. And also I want a positive coefficient of x, which I haven't mentioned before. I don't know if you've known that from your past years in Math 1, but I'm actually going to multiply by a -3 here so that it gets rid of the negative and the denominator of 3. So that's going to leave us with 2x minus 3y equals -2 times -3 is positive 6. So what happened here underneath? We subtracted 2/3 x from both sides. And then right here, we multiplied both sides, all three parts by -3 to get our final answer. And those are our three forms of the equation. All right, match each equation with its possible graph shown below. In each case, explain the reasoning behind your choice. So let's take a quick peek. Here we have a horizontal line. Here we have a horizontal line. Look at your choices of what might be just the graph of a horizontal line. So I look up here, and this is a graph of a horizontal line. And now I'm just choosing between which one this could be, because this is through y equals +4. Here's one of an example of going through +4. Here's one going through -4. So I would choose that A goes with I. So here's my graph A. So now that, mental note, we know that we have already used graph A, we're moving on to B. 1/2 x minus 6. This has a negative y-intercept and a positive slope. So here's a negative slope, here's a negative slope. So it has to be in between this graph and this graph. Now that I know the positive slopes, I've narrowed it down. I'm looking for a negative y-intercept. Well, this touches above the x-axis up here at this intercept, and this one touches below. So my B graph has to go with this one. So I'm going to go over here. Oops. And type that this has to be my B graph. All right, C graph has a negative slope and a positive y-intercept. Negative slope, negative slope. And then D graph has a negative slope and a negative y-intercept. Negative slope, negative y-intercept, positive y-intercept. So that leaves me with the positive y-intercept C has to go here, and negative y-intercept goes here. And so here's graph A, here's graph B, here's graph C, here's graph D, and these two were just fake outs.